Hello everyone and welcome, it's Shanna. Now today we're working with Spellbinder's Stitched Petal Bloom Etched Dies. And there's a lot going on here. These are some stitching dies and they are large. Now it doesn't look like a lot as they're laying there, but the largest one, this one here, you're gonna die cut out 6 times. And you're gonna have 6 of the outside layers and you're going to have 6 of the inside layers, and the inside layers all have to be stitched, as well as most of the parts of this. So I'm going to kind of cut this down so I can die cut out as much as I can out of this white. I'm bringing in some scrap pieces of white that I have available and some scrap pieces of some colored cardstock, and we're going to put together a project. I'm saying project because this is really too big for a card, and this is going to be a longer video because we've got a lot going on. I'm not going to show you all the die cutting, but I will have all the die cut pieces here right in front of me. So I've die cut everything out, and you can see I've just used scraps. I had this little piece of paper that I die cut a house out, and then I had a piece that I die cut a sentiment, and then this one I had already die cut a heart out, and this one I had used on my Cricut and it didn't work out. And so I'm just using all of my scraps, and I've got all of this pink etched die here, and I'm just trying to kind of lay it out how it's going to be. There are 6 pieces and you're going to have to evenly space it. We are going to have like the shadow or the background piece to it that's going to go on there, but we're going to have to do some stitching. So I'm going to, I've kind of got everything laid out, kind of how it's going, and I've got some floss here. I've got like a hot pink, a light pink, a teal, and a white, and I'm going to use a little bit of all of them to do my stitching. And I'm going to show you little bits and pieces of the stitching, but I'm not going to make you watch all of it as I do the stitching. So I'm just getting everything organized. I'm putting my dies up, and I'm going to grab this hot pink, and I'm going to do the dark pink on the light pink is how I'm going to do my stitching. And now what I'm doing is I'm just pulling out a piece and I'm going to separate it. I like to split my floss in half, and then we'll do some stitching. So I basically just take my needle and just kind of split it, and then I'll pull it apart. Now I don't do a very good job of showing you, but what I like to do is put pressure on the bottom as I'm pulling it apart. I like to hold it taut at the bottom and then just pull the sides apart, and then it'll come apart. And I'm trying to do it on camera, but it's really hard to show, but that's kind of how I do it. And then I'll wind up with my pieces, and I'm just kind of pulling it apart. And then we'll just get my little needle and we'll thread it up, and then we'll start doing some stitching. So this is the eye on this is rather large, so it's fairly easy to thread it. So we'll just get it in there, and then what I'm going to do is just I've got my tape runner here, and I'm just going to put a little bit of tape on the tip where I'm going to start this, and then I won't have to tie a knot or worry about. Actually, on the first piece I actually used double-sided tape. I'd forgotten that I did that, and I'm just going to pull the release paper off, and then I'll start my my thread. Now on all the other pieces I will use my tape runner and just do it that way, and it helps so you don't have to worry about tying a knot or holding it down or anything like that. You can just tape it down and it'll stay until you glue it together. Now here I'm just going in through the bottom, up through the top, and then in through the bottom, actually up through the top and then down through the bottom. I'll do it some different ways as I go along, but pretty much I'm just going to the next hole beside it, and then the next hole beside it, and that'll save on your floss. But I'm just showing you this first piece, and then I'll go off camera and do the rest of them because I don't think I need to show you all of them. It's pretty much the same. And then we'll just tape this down and then cut it off, and we'll have our first piece stitched and ready to go. So just trim it off. And then we'll come back and we'll have the other pieces stitched, and we can move on to another area. So I've got all 6 of those stitched, and now we're going to stitch our smile. And I'm just going to show you a little bit of it. Hopefully I'll get it in camera. So I'm going to do the same thing. On this one, I'm going to just stitch over the back of the piece of floss, and you can do that and it'll hold it in place. So there are lots of different ways that you can start and stop this, and there are also different ways that you can stitch. You can, some of these stitch dies, you can kind of make it your own and stitch it your own way. Now I went kind of the simple way on the larger ones, just top to bottom, just to save time. And I'm stitching this one up, and unfortunately I don't really have it much on camera, but this is a fairly simple stitch. And then I'll turn the camera off and I'll finish it up, which is a good thing because you can't really see what I'm doing anyway. So I'm kind of getting it tangled, and I'm just, here I'm kind of back feeding. And when you've got a letter that starts at one end and stops at the other, you have to kind of back feed it a little bit so that you can get from your S to your M, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm just going in one, out the other, and leaving a little gap in there. Now I will make a mistake on this, and when I go off camera I'll find it and then I'll fix it. And it's much like regular cross stitching. You can just back it out. If you make a mistake, you just back it all out and start over, and there's no problem. So that's what I'll do, where I kind of make the little mistake on this M. Now this is where I have made the mistake on the top of it. And I'm just trimming up some that was hanging over, and I went off camera, backed it out, started it over, and the day is progressing, so the light is changing on my glass mat. Now I'm ready to work with the big floral piece that I've got in the darker, and I've decided that I want to use the lighter floss for it, and so I'm just going to separate it, and we're going to do some stitching on it as well. And I will show you, I think, all the stitching on this because it goes fairly quickly. And I'm just separating those, splitting it in half, and then we'll just get it threaded up and we'll run it through our floral element. And it's real similar to the other one, where you just go from the middle and then up to the top. Now first I was going to cheat, and I was just going to do the center points on this, and you'll see it. I was just going to go from middle to center, and I was going to just stop. And then I was going to go to the next one, middle to center, and just stop. Now you could choose to do that, but then I'll stop and I'll back it out, and I'll go ahead and do each one of the little holes. So each center hole is going to have several outer holes, and so I'll just keep going through that same center hole and do all of those outer holes, and that'll fill it in nicely. And so this one is actually probably the most intricate of all of the stitchings, because you've got to go in and out of that several times. Now that tape that I've used to adhere the bottom of the strip down, it can get your needle a little sticky, but all you got to do is take some alcohol and clean it off. But otherwise it'll work just fine. And I'm not sure if I'll show you all of this or if I just do that section and then go out, because it does take a minute to stitch. It did not take as near as long as it did for that full cover panel that I did. Yeah, I'm going to stop it and then come back. So you can see here I've done all the stitching on the inner flower and the outer flower, and then we're just going to real quickly do the leaves. And they're very similar as well, as there's a center hole, and you're going to stitch it and then stitch out to the edge and then back through the center. You'll use that center hole for all of the holes on the leaves, and you'll just go outer, center, outer, center, outer, center until you get the entire leaf stitched. And I hope I'm explaining this very well. I don't know. And I used a teal color instead of a green because I thought it would be really pretty and would look nice with the pink. So you get to see me stitch all of this leaf. I've got the other leaves already stitched, and then we'll come back and we will lay them all down on their backer pieces. So that'll finish that up. I'm taking my glue runner, pinching that down. I'll trim it off, and then we'll be ready to glue them down on their backer pieces. So we've got everything that we need now to assemble this. And I'm just going to quickly glue all these pieces down and try to get them lined up on their shadow piece. And I'm just going to try and get an even edge all the way around it. And because I'm using the glue, it'll be fairly easy to do. Excuse me. Now I'm adding some extra glue wherever it's not sticking. And we'll just keep moving along. And I've got 6 pieces to do this. And you can see on this one I kind of missed, and I ran from top to bottom. I wasn't paying attention, and sometimes you get lost in thought when you're stitching, and wasn't really paying attention. But it works out fine. It wasted a little bit of thread, but that's not a big deal. But I find this stitching to be very relaxing. At first, when I saw this, I was kind of like, oh, how daunting. It's going to take a minute to do this. But this is a real easy stitch. So we'll just get all these laid down on here. And you can see this is going to make quite a large design. And when I first started doing it, I thought, what am I going to do? This isn't going to fit on a card. And I was kind of measuring it up and thinking, could I do a square card? What could I do? And then I had this really fun idea, and I'm excited about it. So we'll get this glue on here, and we'll just keep going. We've got 3 more to go, and then we'll move on to the other elements of our card. And just adding glue wherever I need to. I think my glue press is clogging up right now, and so I'm using a pen to unclog it. What's interesting is I can be using it and it'll clog. I mean, it's not even like I'm sitting there for any period of time. There we go. So we'll just dab some glue in there. Now it's going. Okay, now we've got some glue going. So we'll finish up these last couple of panels here. And I am trying to lay some glue down where I started and stopped my thread, just so that it is, adhered really well, so it won't gap or anything, because you don't want your threads to come undone. And then we've got our last big piece here. And we'll get it laid down. Okay. Now we're going to work on our other pieces. We've got the back piece to our floral element, and we're going to lay it right down. And this one doesn't shadow. It is the same size, so you want to get it lined right up on there. And I'm adding some glue, just trying to get it lined right up on there. And then I've got this center piece that I'm going to glue it up, put it in the center. And I've got it stitched as well. And then I've got my smile, and I've already laid my tittle to my smile down there. I didn't stitch it. You could do a knot stitch in it, and I think that would work out fine, but I didn't do it. I just laid it down. I didn't want to lose it, so I just laid the tittle down, and then I'm laying the smile down, and I think it looks really pretty. And just making sure I get it good and pressed. I'm going to lay my acrylic block on there, and now I'm going to start the leaves. And then I realized I had done 3, 2 of one and 1 of the other, and I actually die cut the wrong piece out and for one of them. And I'm going to try and die cut it out again, and then I mess it up, and I only have so much of this scrap. I realized I missed a stitch, so I was getting that laid in there, and I'm going to go ahead and get it taped down, glued down, and that'll finish it off. And then we'll put it on a backer piece, and it'll be good to go. And I'm really getting glue on my fingers now, so I need to take a break and clean my fingers off. And then I'm going to bring this piece in thinking I'm going to die cut out another one so that I'll have the right piece. And I actually do it wrong. I grab the wrong one, and then I just have another one of the wrong one. And since I used scraps, and at that point I'm like, I don't have any more. And so I'll come up with a workaround on this. I'll actually flip it over and use it anyway, and then I'll trim it up so it'll work. So I've got the 2 of them, and I'm realizing I don't have any more scraps. So I basically just flip this one over on the opposite side, and I lay it down, and then because it's longer, I just trim it away, and it'll work just fine because you're not even going to see it anyway. It's just a backer piece for it. So I'm just taking my scissors and trimming it up and trying to get it lined up nice and neat. trimming off the little stem there. And now I've got 3 leaves. And so now I'm going to kind of lay these things out and kind of get a feel for what I'm doing here. And this is kind of how it's going to look. And I think it's really cute. So I'm going to come up with a plan. So it's gotten even later and the lighting's even changed. I had to go to turn my lights on. I couldn't go with natural light anymore. So I have got this canvas and I've got some watercolor paints. And I thought, I'm going to lay this down on a canvas because it is huge. And my little granddaughter they just redid a bedroom for her, and it is fantastic, all brand new. And I thought, I'll just make a little decor piece for her room, and I think it'll be super cute. So I'm going to use this canvas, and I have chosen 3 colors that I think will blend very nicely with our design. And I'm just going to start laying some down. And I have no idea what I'm doing here. I just got this watercolor paint set, I don't know, a week ago, and it was pretty inexpensive. And I thought, well, I'll give it a try. I think the colors look like they'll work, and so that's what I'll do. So I'm just laying down this kind of darkest teal color here. And it is blending out, and so I'm going to have to come back and add some more. But I'm going to go with the dark, and then I'm going to go with a lighter teal, and then we'll add the pink. And we'll just see what we come up with. And I've sprayed some water on the canvas. I've sprayed some water on the paints. And I'm just going to keep dipping my brush into some water and picking up the color and just laying it down. Now here I'm using the lighter color. And I'm noticing that I'm not getting much definition between the 2 colors. So I'll go back and pick up some more paint and try to darken up that top area when I realize that I just don't have much dimension here. And I'm kind of touching my little paper towel to it just to kind of clean up and make sure it's not real messy. And this is where I go in and get some more of the dark and kind of layer it up so that we have a little dimension in our color. And then we'll go back and pick up some of the lighter and lay it down. And I'm starting to like how this is looking. At first I was going to put it on the stark white, and I was like, no, I'm not liking that. So now I'm going to clean up my brush really good and go in and get some of that dark pink and lay it down. Now pink and blue obviously is going to make some purple, but I'm not upset about that at all. I think it looks really pretty. And I'm just going to keep laying it down until I get the pink. I'm going to get like a dark, and then I'm going to water it down and let it get lighter as we go down on our panel. And I think it looks really pretty. And I think this will be a nice base to lay our design on. And I think it's finished, and I'm just going to let it dry. So at this point, my husband said, do you want to go on our nightly golf cart ride? And I said, sure. I said, I've got this panel that has to dry. So we went on our little golf cart ride, and then I came back and it was dry and we're ready to go. And I did zoom out a little bit, so you're going to see a little bit of a mess on my craft desk, and you're also going to see some glare from my lights. But I wanted to be able to show you the size of this panel, and so you could see exactly what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to kind of position these on here how I think they're supposed to go. And I think it's matching very nice. I think it looks really pretty. And I grabbed this T-square just to see if I'm even close. I knew I was off, but so I'm just going to move a little bit. From then I'll just eyeball it. I'm just going to get it positioned. I'm using my glass mat. I'm trying to line it up to where I can use that center line on my glass mat and then use the points on the design to get everything lined up. So I'm just going to position it, get it all lined up, try to have some equal distance between each one of them. And it's not going to be perfect. I keep moving them, and then I wind up gluing a couple of them down too close or whatever, but it'll come together just fine. So I'm going to just pick them up. I'm adding some tape runner and some glue. I thought the tape runner would help for a quick stick and then the glue for the long-term hold. So I'm just going to get them glued up and try to place them down and try to keep in mind the spacing between each as I go. And I'm just kind of lining them up. I'm going to grab that top piece, add some tape runner to it, get some glue on there, get it laid down. And then we'll move on to our next one. And I'm just continually trying to space them out. And I think it's looking pretty good. I think this will be a really nice art piece or for my little granddaughter's room. And I'm just going to keep going. Lining it back up. And you can see I've got some gaps there that are further apart than the other areas. So it's not perfect, but I think it'll be all right. And here's where I'm like, oh, I need to move it a little bit. And then we've got our centerpiece. We're going to get it laid down. Same thing. Tape and glue. And I'm going to add some more tape because I want to position my leaves before I glue everything down. And I want two of them together on one side and then one on the other. And then we'll put some good amount of glue down and we'll get them pressed down on there. And then we're going to put our smile. And I think this is super cute. And I've got to tell you, as I was finishing this, my daughter and all the kids came in. And so I got to show it to my granddaughter, and she thought it was super cute. I hope you like it. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.